Russia had been so aggressive in so many different ways that the only reasonable reaction to this full-on invasion was to fight it.
Yeah, I mean, I vividly remember the first week of this, and in the first week, what was being said was yeah, the Russians are just going to take. The expectation in the West was that the Russians were just going to take over Ukraine very easily, and then that didn't happen. So
that has nothing to do with at all the conversation.
You're saying 3 days after this started that the
Russians said
we'll just leave if you agree.
The only people that fucking said that were the U.S. and England.
You and Matt
were no article, no quote where it came out outside of
3 days
creating it online. Try actually using.
You're just making shit up. You're just making shit up.
It was a media fucking narrative.
If they just agreed not to join
it was a media narrative, and it has nothing to do with the constructs of what's going on. The 3 days argument, Russia's going to defeat it, was made up on the Western fucking end.
I didn't say anything.
It was about the U.S. and England. It was media, all fucking media hype. That was it. Russia never came out and said they had a 3-day plan that they were going to
I didn't say anything about winning in 3 days. That's not what I said.
They should have used Trump's 24-hour plan. If they had just used his 24-hour plan,
probably. But I mean, the idea that now you're going to have all these fixed areas, you're saying Russia's aggression over the 10 years. Yeah, you could build that up, but also you can how we were approaching under our doctrine into the Russian territories. You forget what happened in Kazakhstan and what we tried to manipulate there. And Russia came in and, did an economic trade, which unfortunately for
I agree that
Shut the fuck up, man. What the fuck is wrong with you, you retard?
Man, listen, people are going to have to...
I thought you were smart, and then all of a sudden people cheered you on.
If you're going to ramble at me and just...
Oh, man, I do hate this guy Sully, too, but this is so beautiful watching two annoying people go at it.
Talking like fucking frogs.
So when you're allowed to just talk,
all you're doing is
going to get
ankle biting me. You must want to blow.
Nobody's ankle biting.
A blow job, right? You want me to tap you in the back of the head?
Are you an insane person? Are you a fucking insane person?
Yeah, he is an insane person.
Is that what you want?
Here we go.
Come on, we're fucking up.
This is beautiful.
For an hour.
Nobody wants to talk that.
It's not that, bro. I mean, that is the custom of the room. We let people finish their entire thought. You know what I mean? If you want to do a debate, then let's fucking set it up. But
fucking
right now we are in the
can't do
conversation. Let him finish making his point. Write it down, remember it, and then you counteract the point, and then you will have ability to do so.
No, these fucking
ramblers
can't fucking do shit. All they can do is, I want a Christian national station and I want a white nation. That's all these goipers are about.
I'm not a goiper.
Literally the frog. I bet the frog is on your fucking PTR.
This is a Discord emoji, you idiot.
Yeah.
Oh, yo, wait, Zoe, I didn't know you were a goiper. Cool, bro. I'm not a groiper.
No,
I hate them.
He's a Catholic.
That sounds exactly like something a groiper would say.
No, just a groper.
Nick Fuentes is his idol, but he's not a groiper.
This actual.
I am a Bernie bro. I like Bernie Sanders. I'm not a groiper.
He's a Catholic Bernie Sanders fan.
I mean, Fuentes like Glenn Greenwald, Sully. So what kind of defense is that?
Glenn Greenwald is not a politician.
I mean, do you guys literally try to suck farts out of Nick Fuentes' ass on a daily basis? You guys keep coming on here and thinking that you're going to make some radical change, and you're not. You fanboys, you groipers are nothing more than some fucking weird wasp cult that needs to be removed. You're like a white version of Lion. Let's go back to
He just told you he's not a groiper. What's wrong with you? Do you think he's lying?
They are known for lying.
100% he's lying. Fuentes is the cat boy blunder. I don't.
Because 5 people will tell you right now he's not lying. So I don't know why you keep.
I mean, this is probably a fanboy of Milo Yiannopoulos who likes to touch kids.
Oh my god.
I feel like we should get back to it. I think it's a really good idea if we just get back to it. We're going to get back to it? Can we get back to it? Get back to the topic? We down with...
Yeah, I was trying to until you had the groipers coming here and then you got the side chick coming up and trying to support the fucking
groiper. Are you?
Shut the fuck up.
You're a side chick,
Shut up. Shut up. No one cares what you're going to say. No one gives a shit. You're the reason why we men want to take away the right for women to vote.
Okay, so you are just a crazy person.
You're right. I am. I'm crazy. I'm all that.
So
I'm all that.
A crazy person.
I know. I got that. Go back to your country and try to tell me how great it is.
That is a groyper rhetoric if I ever heard it. Are we sure Viking is not a groyper?
Jesus. Well, she comes from a country that isn't fucking allowing her to vote anyway, so it's not like I said anything.
You're a very strange person.
Dude, why do you keep muting everybody except this fucking idiot?
Yo, I'm
Hello?
muting everybody so that yo, hello. Mute up so that I don't have to mute anybody. So real quick, let's roll back to the point of the conversation. We were essentially asking why did the fighting continue even though Ukraine never actually ended up joining NATO? So why is it that
In fact, there were never any serious plans for them to
They
join
did
NATO.
not join NATO. No, there was serious plan. The United States blocked it a couple of times. The United States blocked it. So it's not that whether or not there was serious plan. I mean, you just
why did they block it?
Or join it. Listen, you're asking the wrong question. Did the United States keep pushing Ukraine into a fight they could not win? You know very well without U.S. armament and European armament, Ukraine cannot fight Russia. Ukraine is standing right now because of U.S. and European armament. So now, at the end of the day, listen, you may be siding with Russia. If a superior power is going to fucking kill you and they have you in a chokehold, you have every obligation to survive. The person who's telling you to go fight, I'm in no condition to fight an MMA fighter. I think Psych is in the room, right? I cannot fucking fight Psych. And anybody who put in the stupid idea in my head that, you can go fight Psych. You're a dummy. Get the fuck out of here, bro.
Come on, you have to be.
Samoa, see, they just do a Mexican.
You have to be. I'm sorry, but you have to be ignorant enough to believe that this war has anything to do with Ukraine or Russia. It literally has nothing to do with Ukraine or Russia. Anybody who knows anything about the conflict or anybody who knows anything about this region or the world in general is following geopolitics for longer than fucking five seconds knows that the Ukraine war has nothing to do with Ukraine or fucking Russia. It's all a posturing war between the United States and China. That's all it is.
I don't think it's involving China to that extent. I would have agreed on the Iran part. If you were going to say it was more between the U.S. and China, that one I would agree, and that we're using Iran that posturing.
It's just like Iran, quite frankly.
But I think it's more of I would agree that it's a posturing war between Russia and mostly the EU with the American backing.
Listen, even if so, why would Ukraine allow themselves? A lot of them there's a bunch of fucking dead Ukrainians, and their women are just selling themselves in fucking Europe. Anybody been to Europe lately?
Oh, and Texas.
Every fucking hotel is full of these Ukrainian women selling themselves. Let's not be quiet about it. That's what's happening to them.
Matt, come down to Houston right now. You can buy one, get one free.
Listen, man, I was in fucking Switzerland with my fucking family, and the people with that inflated balloon was all over the fucking place.
Yeah, and?
So at the end of the day, it's not a good thing.
Yo, is that the sign over there? You have an inflated balloon?
You come down here.
I didn't know that, bro. I have new information.
For no reason, it's fucking bullshit. And that's the point.
You know what? It's so bad down here. You can go to Steak 48. You can go to Blue Moon. All of these high-end restaurants down here. And literally you will find 10 Ukrainian girls just hanging out in the front waiting for a guy. All dressed to the nines. All looking great. And you're holy shit. You'll have fun down here, man. From God to Christ.
You stop being with the word for girl.
But what's your key point here, Matt? What are you...
The point is Ukraine had an opportunity to not get themselves involved in this bullshit. And they picked they made the wrong decision.
All of their fucking top leadership, they're driving Bugattis, all of them. What do you think is the fucking motivator here? It's fucking money. They are corrupted. What is so fucking... You're African. You know, all the governments are fucking corrupted out there. You know this.
I'm black, but I'm not African, but I get the point.
Yeah.
My shithole country is a corrupt one too. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. So you totally understand why they want to keep it going. They don't give a shit. It's not their kids on the front line. It's fucking Ukrainian old men and boys dying so they can fucking fill it with fucking Indians and Pakistanis in 5 years when they need a fucking we have decimated our workforce. We need them. Yeah. But Zelensky doesn't give a shit. He has a fucking house in Dubai. Or wherever, or Qatar, or whatever the fuck. Like, they don't give a shit. They don't give a shit. And that's the truth, right? And whether or not, like, Russia, yes, clearly they are the aggressor. America is making money off the kickbacks because the only thing they're doing is, the American taxpayer has to fucking pay Raytheon and fucking Lockheed a bunch of fucking money so their stocks go up. What is the issue here? What are we talking about? We all know what the fuck is going on. The rich are going to keep making the fucking money and you have to go and eat your goy slop and pay for it. What's the problem here, guys? What the fuck are we doing?
You're wrong on one front. So the Israeli conflict is actually fueling Raytheon and all that stuff. So like they're getting a lot of shit ton of money from that because of all the support, the financial aid that's kicking back to the country.
Well, the European counterparts.
Ukraine is actually profiting all the politicians and all the rich elites individually.
Okay, sure.
That's where that's coming. That money's coming back through NGOs.
Yeah. I guess I've got a question for the audience because I'm a little bit lost in this conversation. Quite honestly, I've been paying attention, but it's just I'm a little bit lost about like some of the implications some of you are making. So essentially, it's Ukraine's fault for even toying with the idea of joining NATO to begin with, because they should have known that if they fuck around with Russia, they'll find out. That's the general sentiment I'm getting, right? And then we're pointing to the corruption internally, domestically, but like, isn't it part of, I guess, the U.S.'s stance or political posture to sort of like support the sovereignty of these countries in that region in the first place, right? Like, what difference does it make if they're corrupt internally? Like, does it justify Russia essentially, I guess, performing this?
The Zelensky regime was doing a lot of work to get rid of corruption, and the most corrupt country in the world is Russia.
Yeah, and Russia is clearly
complete nonsense. What you guys are saying.
Wait. So
Russia is clearly the aggressor. No one is saying Russia doesn't fucking isn't to blame.
Wait, is my intuition correct about, like, I guess the confusion that I had? Like, am I arbitrarily just confused here?
Well, I'm not even sure what their argument is at this point.
Wait.
Just spitting out nonsense.
So wait, Milith is quoting ChatGPT and saying Zelensky was getting rid of corruption. This is false because he actually has massive corruption since they fucking won.
Yes.
So we caught it, and he didn't get rid of it. The only time that it's gotten recognized is when, guess what? It hits the front page news, and it's like the fucking people of Ukraine are holding concrete evidence in their hand. They're saying, hey, this motherfucker bought 20 Bugattis, and this was supposed to be aid for food. Where's this? Jesus, Mills, I forget you Canadians are soft.
Sorry. I'm just saying, like, I was in the middle of saying something, right? So, like, I'm not even sure what their argument is at this point. Like, it seems like what Matt's saying is that, like, the Ukrainians had an off-ramp that Russia gave them, and he thinks the off-ramp was, like, a good deal or whatever, where, like, Russia takes part of your territory, and and you can't join NATO, right? Even though I'm not even sure that that's all the stipulations that were involved in the deal or whatever, right? But he seems to think that was a good deal and that Ukraine should have taken that deal, right? That seems to me to be insanely crazy. Like, think about the 10 years leading up to the invasion, right? Russia had been like fomenting basically like a civil war in the Donbass, right, through hybrid warfare, which I was reading all of the ChatGPT like statistics on that, right? Russia had annexed Crimea, which is part of Ukraine, and Russia was massing troops and like had in fact invaded your country, right? It makes perfect sense in that type of situation to fight the war, even if Russia is like supposedly at the beginning of the war, everyone thought Russia was actually like a military juggernaut. Even if Russia's a military juggernaut, it still makes sense to fight the war. And the majority of Ukrainian citizens believe that. That's why you had such a widespread broad-based movement to like join the Ukrainian army, right? And if Russia were to take over all of Ukraine, right, and Ukraine just were say we're not going to fight Russia, just like I'm going to take all our territory. It would have horrible for the Ukrainians who would have been subjugated to like in significant ways, like going forward, because Russia is just a horrible, 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 corrupt, terrible place.
Okay, now that you fight from and the flag and handed soldier marching in step, and you did the whole heartstring thing with actually nothing grounded in reality. Let's go back to this. Again, U.S. involvement predates Zelensky's arrival. We have been messing with Ukraine for a long time. Ukraine, once under Zelensky, yes, there were inroads made to NATO. There was even asked to join the EU, said fuck no to them, because they knew that Ukraine was going to be an expensive drain. They couldn't fucking get on board with anything within the European Union, which is truly what their overall goal was, purposely by joining NATO, was to have these open trade agreements and eventually join the EU and have that kind of trade-packed alliance that they were going to have, that economic power. But nobody wanted them, particularly fucking England. England did not want them joining at that time, prior to their vote, prior to absolutely everything. They didn't want them in there at all. Germany didn't even really want them. Poland didn't want them. Fucking France, who gives a shit what the French think? They're the reason why we have Canadians. But overall, when you look at the history of it, Zelensky wasn't like brought in on a wave of revolutionary austerity and prosperity. He's going to revitalize the country. He was brought in under the U.S. doctrine and told to lick the rear end and the boot of the U.S. That is literally what he was brought in for. That is Newland's approach, and we did it perfectly. Just like we did it in Iran when we overthrew people, that you complain about. Just like we do it 100 fucking times. We did a regime change, is what we really did. Now, what you forget is the people in the areas that Russia currently the Donbass, Crimea, all these areas, they were pro-Russia. They were pro-Russia before Zelensky. In fact, they had a whole fucking bitter campaign and even had riots in the streets about fucking pushing back against Kiev. Like they did not want Zelensky. They didn't want Ukrainian government. They absolutely opposed it. But you forget this. And it was the mass majority of fucking people in that area. They even told U.S. reporters to come back and say, hey, we want to join Russia. There were CNN videos. There were MSNBC, Fox News, all before this shit. Literally before this shit. Because it was going to be used against Trump as a political weapon because Obama was, trying to stage that. But you forget all these dynamics down there because you just used ChatGPT and said, hey, help me. But when you look at that region, those people wanted to leave. They had asked Russia for help. Now you're saying that those people who were voter suppressed, they were ostracized, they had wealth taken away from them, they were in prison, they were told they couldn't have their religion, they had all those human rights that you want to bitch about. They were oppressed. Russia came in on that moral scream, which I don't even believe that Russia did it. I think it was just an excuse to go in because they want to sit over those rich mineral areas and they want to have access to the seaports. But nonetheless, that was the primary goal of Russia, as stated, is saying, hey, we're going to go back and get our people. And Zelensky wanted to push back. But the Ukrainians were fucking ostracizing, punishing them, and torturing them prior to Russia's invasion. So to act like the Ukrainian government was just defending its own, no, it was doing an ethnic cleansing of anybody who was, quote, of Russian descent. And they have been doing that for years. The Ukrainians are not some fucking moral, angelic fucking beings. They're like a fucking corrupt nation from the ground up, and they have no problem with ethnic cleansings. They don't have any problems doing any of that shit. So I'm kind of confused when you try to paint them in this beautiful mosaic of just trying to be independent, when in fact they've been a corrupt nation, and Zelensky is no fucking different because he rode in on a wave of corruption. He's been corrupt, and he's been whatever the fucking Newlands of our country want him to be, as well as England.
But just so we're
somehow
clear,
or another you ignore that.
Viking, just so we are clear, that doesn't necessarily mean Russia doesn't have its own interests and
conflict. Those people in that region, they don't get rights, but yet Ukraine's going to own that whole area and say, hey, it's fine. So Russia came in. I don't agree with Russia invading. First off, I think it was really dumb. I think there were better ways to do it. But at the end of the day, Ukraine was so corrupt, and the U.S. involvement was fucking them over, along with England's involvement. So now we're here because of 3 countries basically bullshit, and Russia coming in and doing it. Russia's not innocent, but don't spare me the, he speaks Russian, so it's perfectly fine. That makes no sense to me.
You still didn't answer my question whatsoever. You're just deflecting from my question. So my question is,
how did I deflect from it?
You didn't answer it whatsoever. So
I did tell you, the ability to speak Russian has nothing to do with anything.
No. That's not answering my question. So my question is, you're saying that they are oppressing Russian speakers in eastern part of Ukraine.
I did not say Russian speakers. I said Russian people.
Yes. So what is it? How do you determine? How do you differentiate with someone who speaks Russian and is Russian? How do you determine the difference? So someone speaks Russian. Are they Russian or not Russian? How do you then, if not, how do you then determine they're Russian?
Well, I can say this.
No, I'm asking
Chernobyl,
I'm not talking to you.
Well, whether you're talking to me or not, this is an open stage. Chernobyl was Russian. And I can remember when I was a young child, when I can remember when I was a young boy, when Chernobyl erupted and went off and basically put that nuclear energy all around that land in that area. That's when they kind of siphoned off and cut a piece off, because it was basically it was infected, so to speak, I guess. That's the right way to say it. It had nuclear waste all around that area, and the land wasn't really that good at one point. But through the course of time and years, well, things have kind of cleaned up, and the environment has taken care of itself. But Chernobyl was Russian, and all of that area, those people are Russian people, because they were all a part of one USSR, right? And so we understand that. That would be like siphoning a piece of Louisiana off, or South Carolina off, or Texas from the United States. Of course, they're going to want theirs back. But the real point wasn't the people, it was that pipeline. They wanted that pipeline to go through Ukraine, straight to Germany. And they wouldn't do business. And that's where Zelensky really fucked up, is that he should have did business with them to begin with, taken a piece of the proceeds of the pipeline, and they would have been feeding Europe oil right now on a much more efficient level. I'll land there.
Right, I have a question for you. And I ask this genuinely. When Russia invaded Ukraine, what was Vladimir Putin's pitch to the Russian people? Meaning,
he did it under the guise of, we're going in to rescue our people, we're going to save our citizens. Yeah, he came in to say, we're going to save our people. It basically rhetoric, but in reality, I'll say he wants.
Come on, Grumpy.
I'm
not grumpy, Monica. You're a hypocrite, and you're a Karen.
Russia hasn't moved those lines since they invaded.
You're gonna block me. You're gonna block Pepe. You're gonna block everybody. Well, I'm gonna block you. I'm gonna block you, Monica. Because A9. There you go. Bye, Monica.
Kind of like demographically take it over, right?
Yes, I've heard that as well. But there were still Russian people there, and Ukraine was still removing the rights.
Like property taxes, zoning.
What I'm interested in is from what I read on ChatGPT, right, it seems pretty obvious. Like, if you guys, if you don't agree with what the ChatGPT says, right, then you should probably mention why, right? But if you agree with that ChatGPT summary about how Russia took co-opted the movement, how Russia put in literally parts of its military that were managing the movement, funding the movement, right? If you think all that's the separatist movement in the Donbass, if you think all that's correct, right? And if you think Russia illegally annexed the Crimea, right? If you think all of that's correct, then why do you think that Ukraine should have just rolled over?
The number? Maybe
obviously, Russia was posing a serious threat to their territorial integrity, to their prosperity. Like, it wasn't allowing or didn't want Ukraine for whatever reason to join the European Union, right? It was posing a threat in multiple different vectors, multiple different ways. Why should they just have rolled over? Makes no sense.
The Nord Stream, I think it was the Nord Stream pipeline. And if you look at that, that was the reason.
I think it's a fair.
So,
I'm in a garage, so I'm slightly in the matrix, but I'm here kind of.
So I was gonna say, you're saying that Russia was trying to pull an Israel by moving settlers for that reason?
No, here's one thing to think about, right? If you're the leadership of Ukraine and you're hearing people like Lindsey Graham and others saying, well, we're killing Russians without losing one American soldier, who cares, let's just fund this war, and you're realizing that they're drip feeding you military supplies in such a way where collapsing, and they're only giving you newer
I'm a media mogul.
Every 6 months, and it's just always 4 months late. It might be a good time to just concede. I don't know, it's just a thought. It's not just rolling over, but
we got to look at
But you're not actually addressing the point that Bella, which is, if you're talking about a couple of days into this war and Russia offers concessions to Ukraine, you're looking at this through hindsight and saying, oh, well, look at all these things that happened during the early stages of the war. But if you're only talking about the first couple of days of the war, we didn't know all that stuff. Also, that doesn't speak to the resolve of the Ukrainian people at all. And again, right? So you're saying, oh, well, why should Ukraine just roll over? Again, if you're looking at it through the perspective of, if we are in a sovereign country and our neighbor attacked us, then who cares if there's slow walking aid? I mean, you could look at it and go, well, we may not win this war, but here we are. We're in 2026. So if you want to play the hindsight game, we're in 2026 and this war is still going on. So why would they? Why blow over?
Thing too about the Ukrainians, they have showed the resolve that you're speaking about, and that has given them a one-up with Europe, with Western Europe. And what that has done is make the Europeans look at them and start scratching their head. And what they've started to do is feed them the supplies and purchase those supplies, because that was the way that Trump designed it. But the reality of it is, these Hawks and all these missiles and drones and stuff, all that stuff I'm to build. The U.S. doesn't have an unlimited stockpile of weapons when they're warring every 72 months. They're in a new war. So they're using the stockpile as they make it. And it takes 2 to 3 years to make some of these weapons. So what they're selling to Ukraine, if we get into a confrontation with anybody, we actually really need that shit for ourselves. But the reality of it is, I think that Europe is starting to pivot towards Ukraine being their safety, because they've shown that resolve and they've shown that ability to kind of protect and hedge that eastern entry point into Europe. So I think what's going to end up happening is they're going to end up bringing Ukraine into it, and they're going to coalesce together, and Ukraine is going to end up securing Europe from the eastern flank. And I'll land right there.
Or you could just ask a really, really simple question, simplify this greatly, which is, who would you rather have as your next door neighbor? Would you rather have Russia, who clearly has territorial ambitions, or would you rather have Ukraine? I think that's the calculus that Europeans have to ask themselves.
Does anybody know the death toll for Russians now through this thing? I'd say in the several hundred thousands.
It's massive. Massive.
I want to say it's up to 500,000, but I could be totally wrong.
It's 3 million. It's 3 million.
It's got to be closer to 6 million.
And bottom poll, by the way, Ukraine is not getting Tomahawks. And the kinds of weapons that were used in Iran, for example, they were some of those missiles that could have been used in Iran. The problem, the weapons they got that could have been used in Iran, but the thing is, the weapons that Ukraine got was the kinds of weapon that was gonna that were expiring last year or like very soon. So they were getting old versions of these missiles, the oldest versions, the ones that no longer being produced. So
what do you mean, expiring like milk?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, so explain to me, just make sense to me how gunpowder expires, or how it expire, or how metal expires, or how a bomb would expire. Explain what in it would expire.
It's pretty simple. So the idea is the United States restocks their stockpiles of weapons with the newest, current, latest thing, right? And so therefore, in order to do that, you have to get rid of your old supplies, or you just have lots of old weapons laying around. So the idea.
Well, hold on, wait a minute.
Just as a quick fact check, the death toll in Russia is between 300 and 500,000, but the casualties, which means injured, is over 1 million. And in some respects, casualties are even worse if you think about Vietnam, people coming back without limbs.
We know that metal and explosives don't expire.
Doesn't expire,
right?
Of course not.
Okay.
Nobody's saying that it does.
This point is low-key bothering me. Metal does kind of expire. It rusts.
Okay, so now we're concerned about it rusting.
No, Totem, basically you're not actually.
No, but like.
If you want to take it here, you can. This point is silly. Like again, this has been something that's been talked about at length in this war.
Well, here's the reality of it, and this is the reality.
I'll give you an answer, but if you just want to talk, that's fine too.
Well, I know. From a common sense perspective, metal and gunpowder don't expire.
Okay, so then let me explain it to you. If it doesn't make sense from a common sense standpoint, then let me explain it to you so that it does make sense to you. Again, we're talking about old armaments from years and years and years ago. The United States is constantly updating and constantly getting new armaments. So the United States is saying, "Hey, we can fund this war, fund who we believe is the right side of this war, and do so at minimal cost to us by selling or giving or whatever it is to the Ukrainians older weapons, stuff that's more or less obsolete, right? Like using an extreme example, obviously the case. Obviously, muskets don't expire; they become obsolete. And obviously, I'm using an extreme example. But this is the case with Ukraine.
Okay, well, let's use some real world stuff then.
Because the greatest, incredible American technology.
But I want to ask you a question then. Since you answered that question, I have another question. And this question is this. What do you think the timeline is to make 100,000 bombs of any sort, updated, whatever date or time? What do you think the timeline is?
I have no idea. I'm saying the United States.
Depending on the type of bombs, you can make it in a week.
I'm glad you answered it that way because you were honest, because you have no idea. It takes 2 years to make.
No, that's not necessarily true. It depends on the type of bombs. Like I could make fucking pipe bombs, 100,000 of them with a group of men in a week. Like I can make IEDs.
Yeah. Do we have a factory that can pump them out as fast as iPhones? It takes 2 years to make 1,000 of these. It takes 2 years. What?
No.
What's the name of the missile? What's the name of the missile you think?
They're not using tomahawks. Told them they're not using the tomahawks. They're using them in fucking Israel.
It takes 24 months to make it.
How do you think
They're not selling the fucking tomahawks.
The United States making bombs. We're not making bombs like that.
Okay, again, it depends. Hold on. It depends on the type of munitions that you're talking
getting
about.
the weapons from?
Wait. It depends on the munitions that you're talking about. Bombs cover a whole broad array of fucking.
Well, let's use ChatGPT and find out where we're getting the munitions from and how long it takes to make it. It takes 24 months to make any of that shit.
24 months to make a missile is a stupid statement.
I think you even said it takes 2 years to make 1,000. So if it takes 2 years to make 1,000,
source to rely on how
this is
fast
the reason why Trump looks so fucking stupid right now.
China pumps out 1,000 of them in a fucking 3 days.
China has never been in a war in my lifetime, and I'm 52 years old.
They've been in conflicts, but again, have you ever been to Tibet? You know, Indian border. You know, even some conflicts around Russia.
In a fucking war.
This is stupid.
This is the dumbest.
So let's chat
so dumb. Dude.
We got so many
Look,
intelligent white guys on the stage. Somebody use ChatGPT and find out how
Why are you asking someone else to use ChatGPT?
How many missiles are making saying one missile takes 24 months is fucking retarded.
Again, it depends on the type of missile.
It
depends on the bomb. It depends. Bombs and missiles are different.
It's a dumb R word.
The levels of them, there's like your category of bomb is fucking broad. It covers everything from IEDs to basically a firecracker all the way up to a nuclear weapon. I mean, what are you talking about, like, in terms of bombs?
Let's research 2 things. What did we give the Ukrainians? Find out that bomb. And how long does it take to make
We gave them a variety of weapons.
Okay, and find out one. Find out one.
We can do. In the meantime, Totem, take your blood pressure.
Find out one.
You just
Find out one.
But Toten, real quick, because you said it takes 2 years to make 1,000, but that's over 2 a day.
You don't even know what we're talking about yet.
I don't think you understand supply chain. I don't think you understand supply chain here, guys.
I don't think you understand what we're talking about either.
Supply chain.
It's not like you're waiting the full. You're not waiting 2 years to get the first one off.
Don't understand that. You fucking baboons don't understand that.
What's the rate that we can make them per week?
I mean, like, I'm kind of confused. You're asking what we gave them. We gave them ATAMs, we gave them Stingers, we gave them fucking RPGs, we gave them a variety of
Let's
missiles.
go with Stingers. How long does it take to make 10,000 Stingers? Let's figure that out.
A month. South Korea seems to pump them out pretty fast.
All we gotta do is look it up. How long does it take to make 10,000 Stingers?
A month based on South Korea.
And I just want to say, none of these figures are publicly disclosed.
How
These
long
are
does it
estimates,
take
by
to-
the way. They would never disclose this information.
How long
And
does
in
it
wartime, you can industrialize a factory, like a car
How
factory or
long
something,
does it
to
take
make
to
these
make
bombs as
10,000
fast as you
Stingers?
want. You can scale up production as fast as you want.
The irony here also is that the fact that what Totem is talking about, that's actually what's happening in the Strait of Hormuz right now. Like the Ukrainian fucking, what do you call them? Like the not surveyors, like they're
Interceptor drones. Yeah, the interceptor drones from Ukraine are helping more in this.
Yeah. No, so when they assessed it, the assessors coming in with like their technical know-how, and they faced America, like they're sending fucking, $100,000 rockets to shoot down a $200 drone. So actually,
Tomahawks to shoot down Shia drones. Shia drones are like $100,000.
Yeah, but but Totem is using the kind of head on the nail there. But you're getting it confused, Totem. It's the Ukrainians that are telling Americans this right now in the Strait of Hormuz. So it's not the Ukrainians that are using them. It's your military using it against Iran right now.
I'm trying to make a point that you obviously are seeing the point that I'm making. The point that I'm making is, if we're supplying these weapons, we don't have an endless supply of this shit.
Yes, that is true, but it's the case in Israel, not in Ukraine.
Whether it's in Israel, Tokyo, or Israel, Ukraine, wherever we use them at, we don't have an endless fucking supply of this.
No, of course.
Isn't that the reason why we had to increase the production?
Please, thank you. Explain it.
Yeah, isn't that the reason why we're increasing the production of all of these weapons? The new technology.
We're also buying them from other areas. Yes.
To the war, the theater.
First of all, we are not.
Oh, hey, wonderful accent.
We're not giving Ukraine any new weapons. We have been giving them our old stockpiles. The new weapons we have been giving to Israel, partly to test, partly to improve. Also, if you look at the chat, Toto, Jessica, who has actually got a fantastic lengthy military career and is very knowledgeable, has a very good explanation of.
Jessica has a military career?
Well, sorry, she has experience. I don't know exactly.
She doesn't have a military career. Please don't do that.
She has experience, sorry. She has.
No, she doesn't. She Googled that on ChatGPT.
Yeah, Claudette, help me.
All right, I do apologize. I got her mixed up with someone else named Jessica, who actually does have some military career. But she was doing. So she actually does have some good explanations. But my apologies. I do know someone named Jessica who actually did have served in the military. So she was explaining. I mixed them up. But she does have some
explaining to us how we're wasting taxpayers' money and we don't have weapons to secure our own borders and shit. Keep explaining that.
Who's going to attack America's border with missiles?
Who's going to attack the U.S.? And also, if you think that if you're going to say China, no, because they would they have no interest in our hemisphere. Their only interest is in their hemisphere.
Now you're off in the weeds. Come back to the road and let's talk about stockpiles of weapons and how much time it takes
China
to make
couldn't mass an invasion force across the ocean. Do you know how far that is?
I love the idea that we need
how
to
long does it take to make a fucking stinger?
A Stinger's not going to prevent. If China wants to do a mass invasion of the U.S., like a Normandy style like California, a Stinger is not going to
You're
prevent.
still not getting the point.
No, you don't understand
there are
the
some
point.
adults in the room who understand what I'm saying.
You're not at the table. You're at the kids' table.
Come back to the
video game
room.
warfare instead of like actual real warfare.
How long do you think it takes to make
A
these
Stinger
weapons?
does not take very long to
It
make.
doesn't matter if
We
it's
roll
a
them up
Stinger.
pretty.
I'm going to ask you guys to stop screaming
Thank
again.
God, Don. Thank God.
Okay. Yeah.
So first off,
hold on, Brad, real quick. So, the Ukraine not only receives munitions from the United States, but they also receive from NATO and allies. Also, private defense contractors, Western manufacturers, German firms.
You still haven't answered the question. How long does it take to make this shit?
I'm talking. Be quiet. Please,
How long does
stop.
it take to make it?
Stop.
Nobody's answering the question. I keep
nobody's answering your
How
question
long
because
does
first of
it
all,
take
be
to make
quiet.
the missiles?
Be quiet or I'm going to drop you. This is the last warning. So, first of all, we have to find out where they're coming from. It's not just the states. And then you can ask the question how long it takes, right? Because you need to know this. So there are your sources. Okay, production. Ukraine also produces a significant portion of its own munitions through state-owned and private defense corporations. Okay? So first do that lookup, right? NATO, Germany, the states, and their private defense contractors. Okay? Then you can look up how long it takes and what exactly you're looking for, which exactly it takes, because they're all timelines. Go ahead, Brad.
So again, it depends on the type of munitions.
Do you mind if I just do something real quick?
Sure.
Okay, so I put it in the chat. The rough estimation under the sort of like the current sort of like release production, it's about 13.9 years or 167 months. But let's read this together, okay? Okay, at the rate 10,000 divided by 6. Sorry, hold on.
It's about 2 a day. It's 60 a month.
And that's if you never build another factory ever.
And that's if there's only one factory in the world.
I'm just about to bring that up, Ayo, because you could scale up production by 20x during war times, and that would reduce the amount of time it took to produce
Precisely.
Stingers to about 1.5. At 10x, it's about 1.4 years. At 20x, meaning that it's multiple countries producing them. So the U.S. and an additional.
Yeah, how many factories?
It would come down to about 8 to 9 months to produce.
Thanks for stealing my idea, Dewey.
Exactly.
So,
how long does it?
I'm good at that. Shut up, dude. You really have no knowledge.
Shut up. I'm going to answer it with a number. You want to know?
Hold on.
Right now, one factory can make 2 a day. But you can make 10
fucking day.
One factory. How many factories? Oh my God! Now listen. That's one factory. How many factories do you want? Do you want 10 factories?
It doesn't work that way either. It doesn't work that. Oh my God!
I know. I'm just trying to simplify it.
Hold on, Dewey. You can't simplify it that way. So, at the start of the Ukraine war, when we first gave our.
Wait, can I just wait? Can I just please?
Hold on, I've been waiting to go. What? You let 20 people.
Sorry, my bad, Brad. I promise I'm gonna alley you, but I need to sort of just factor this in. All your ChatGPT estimates are going to, if your ChatGPT is calibrated this way, is going to draw a distinction between wartime and peacetime. In peacetime, based on the current production rates, yes, it's about 2 a day, but in wartime, it can go as far as about
10, that's what I was saying.
12 a day. Right?
2.
Oh my God! Listen to the words that he said. Listen to the words that he said.
Dude, shut up.
On Brad.
Okay, so it doesn't necessarily work like this. It depends on the missile systems themselves, because we don't just build them from scratch, 2 a day. We're not sitting there going, all right, guys, let's hammer out the steel in case he's in. We source a lot of the parts. We bring them in from fucking China, South Korea. We'll bring them in from a lot of places, and we can throw them together. Again, it depends on the missile system. If you're talking high end, something like a HIMARS system, Patriot system, yeah, they take a little bit longer. But something like a Stinger, we can whip them out to the tunes of 100 a day, in all honesty. If we really ramped up production, Raytheon started and said at the beginning of this, when they started to give munitions over, they needed a 30-month ramp up to meet the production goals. This is kind of bullshit on that end, because we knew that they could chunk these out pretty fast, and they're just asking for a broader contract. So there's a lot of political money grab that's going on there. Once we have that production going to scale, and we can buy them from other areas, Don is correct. Other places do help make these components, and we just piece it together, put our technology in, and boom, we're off to the races. So when you look at production, it's not just 2 a day. And to do your point that when we ramp it up during peacetime, we actually have more of a stockpile. We do have, I hate to tell you guys this, Terry, we do hold shit back. And the only time we get rid of that shit is generally when we have a replacement, or that, hey, we just have too much, and we can have too much. So we'll utilize them in activities, war games. We'll dump them off the side of a ship, or we'll give them to other nations because they've just, basically, we have something better. And when we start to see that we're giving out Stingers, well, clearly we have something a lot better that we have a massive stockpile on. We don't do that. The military does not go down. We always fearmonger about it because we want that budget. We never want that budget to go away. But the U.S. has a lot of munitions. We are not running out. It's more of bullshit in politics. I mean, for fuck's sake, we're still sending ships all around the world. We're still engaged in 22 different conflicts on fucking various continents, and we're still interfering in multiple areas, and we're still funding multiple nations during conflicts. Really, if it was that big, with fucking from Obama to now, we would all be fucking firing muskets, like Dewey said.
Another thing off of that, Viking, it's also if someone were to attack the United States and use fucking high stratosphere, some super fucking rocket carrying a nuclear armament, what the fuck would a Stinger do to intercept that? Could it even? Right? So it's what are we talking about here?
Let's not beat a dead horse, because this wasn't actually. This was actually a very irritating and annoying fucking pivot, because the actual thing we were discussing was a Russia-Ukraine situation. I don't know how we got bogged down in the specifics of the fucking Stinger missiles. It was a stupid point. All right, let's get back to the Russia and Ukraine stuff.
There was somebody said,
yeah,
I think it was the young lady. That guy's gone too. We were all. The young lady was talking about how we were just giving up our old stuff, and I don't think that that's true at all. I think that if you're looking at the executive orders that have been signed lately to maximize production by removing the stock buybacks from all these Lockheed Martin and Raytheon. But yeah, I mean, America after kind of like seeing this already, because we've already everything away over the last 4 years, that we got to kind of like replenish. If you believe, I don't know if any of you guys watched the actual like hearing with Cooper. I think it's Admiral Cooper, this CENTCOM guy. Like they kind of spoke to this, and then General Kane kind of spoke to this as well. I don't really listen to PHEC stuff in those guys, because those guys are like the political part of it, right? But like these other guys are kind of like pinpoint when they talk about stockpiles. They talk about like how much they've kind of like used in this area. But the like all munitions are not like created equal. Like we have like an overabundance of some, and then there's some. I think Brett kind of spoke to this as far as like the Patriot missile systems. That some could say, hey, like the what would they call it? The interceptors like could be scarce like at a point in time. But obviously, things are going to ramp up during wartime. I think Dewey was kind of like speaking to this, and so was IO. Everybody's just saying, hey man, like when you need it, you're going to kind of like, you know, consolidate all of your energy into doing something that you actually need to like acquire this desired outcome. You can kind of see it like during COVID. We had to make a lot of adjustments, and we had to make a whole bunch of companies that normally didn't do the thing. So yeah, I think you would kind of like extend that here to the conflict as well. Why not?
Ukraine is also producing a lot of its own weaponry because there's just been such a pullback from the U.S. Europe has taken up, NATO countries have taken up some of that slack, but there's a significant amount of missiles that actually can reach inside Russia that are being produced by Ukraine. They're getting really good at drones to fight against the Shaheeds that are coming from the Iranian. And so there are actually a lot of production coming from the actual country itself because they've had enough time to manufacture.
My friend!
It's been a 4-year war.
Okay, my friend.
The revolution. Some points. Castro's own sister, Juanita, opposed him and soon left Cuba for Miami.
I said, I am not any soldier of your revolution. I am not the kind of people that you can order and give order and...
Have you ever considered that everybody on this app is actually completely R-word?
Well, the way I rationalize it is because I'm recording it, and essentially all content, you know, unless it's academic, is basically R word. So, you know, if you find out that you happen to be an R word in our world, well, guess what? You know, you can have more fun with it that way. But Trump is a dumb R word is like the perfect projection for this app, because you have a bunch of dumb R words constantly projecting all the time on Trump their own, you know, personal status. So, but I did just see a mashup video of all of Trump's cabinet like shitting on Trump. And it's so funny because like Tulsi Gabbard, there's just a lot of crazy people out there, and like Tulsi is one of them, and AOC is one of them. And so there's like a, you know, clip of Tulsi Gabbard dunking on Trump, saying he's dangerous, deranged, low IQ, etc. So Tulsi has been like playing this social media darling game in the same way that AOC plays it. And Tulsi was being censored on YouTube. Now she's not being censored, and she has a huge following and makes a ton of money with her husband. And she's a force to be reckoned with because she has the platform. And so Tulsi is like, you know, a vibrant political candidate for the future. But when you see basically how she's a shapeshifter in the same way, even worse than AOC, like AOC is like far left, but Tulsi is left, trying to be on the right. Anyways, Danny, welcome. Danny keeps spreading. Danny keeps spreading lies about me on the internet and saying I'm part of a psyop. And I was saying that, Danny, when you go to your psychiatrist, like how annoying must it be for your therapist to hear you constantly say, I think you're a part of the psyop? You know, like from a therapist.
You know, I learned when I was 7 years old and the Harvard doctor was, the MK Ultra Harvard doctor was prescribing me shit that made me crazy when I wasn't crazy to begin with. I knew it was a psyop at that point.
I don't think it all is a psyop, actually. I don't think there is.
Okay, can I tell you where the psyop starts? Let's think about estrogen, right? And men's testosterone dropping 50%. Does estrogen affect that? Like, honestly, I'm not smart enough to know. Like, this is a serious question. But anyway, I think that the estrogen in the plastic that IG Farben put out is affecting society. And I don't think that's a psyop. And I think when I started piecing shit together and this chick told me she was a bayer, I think that was a psyop. And I think it's like Bayer is like of Bavaria, and Bavaria is the Illuminati, right?
So we got to the Illuminati. You know, if you want to join the Illuminati, all you got to do is read a book about the Illuminati, you know, and their teachings. And then guess what? You are also illuminated. And I just want to say that we are going to read a book because my friend has officially observed that every single fucking person on this fucking app is on the short bus. And that's okay that this is a short bus person app, but I'm driving the short person bus, and guess what? I have it parked near a cliff, and I'm gonna get out of the short person bus right now with all of you, and I'm gonna go to the back, and I'm gonna start doing the heavy lifting, and I'm gonna push and push because I don't have I don't have the brake on. Anyways, you see what I'm saying? Does that make sense, Danny?
Okay. Do you know if there's any like never mind. You know what? I give up. If I'm dead, it wasn't me. It was you guys.
What?
It wasn't me. But she got.
I think my friend is the one that sent all these people after me. And the thing is, I was so accepting of him. You know, I was so kind to him. Yeah.
What do you have against me? I never did anything to you.
You see it?
I thought we were friends.
I think you're all
It's a fake gag.
psyop against me.
Well, respectfully, I think that's a little bit deranged.
Why would it be deranged to think that there's a huge psyop and it's this app?
Because it's this. Wait, hold on, my friend. It's this thing called personal responsibility. And as Dr. Jordan Gruber here likes to say, may he help enlighten all sentient beings to total and true perfect freedom. And so, Danny, all we're trying to say is you're going to need some new material. And that means the next time you go up on stage, like try to introduce some new material into the content. And that could be reading a book.
I talked about IG Farben.
No. Don't rely on.
I'd like to say something.
Oh, okay, so go ahead, my friend. Hello? Sometimes I do the same thing. Oh, go ahead.
The goal of all spiritual disciplines is gradually to bring the mind to a perfect stillness. In automotive terms, you are downshifting from overdrive to top gear, then to second, then finally to neutral. When you develop the capacity to put your mind into neutral, you will have acquired inexhaustible patience. You will be able to listen to another person's point of view with such concentration and detachment, even when your own opinions are being torn to shreds, that sometimes you will say to yourself, hey, he is right. I'm wrong. I can learn from him. That attitude of open-mindedness, of having a slow-going mind which listens very carefully to opposing points of view and is always prepared to learn from them, is the beginning of kindness. And kindness is the foundation of a harmonious world. Hurry is unkindness.
So whenever you sit down for meditation or clown house engagement, you might remind yourself that you should be slowly changing gears. From the fastest to the slowest, until after many years you park your mind, just as you park your car. At that point, all your energy is saved. Normally, even when we are not consciously acting or speaking, the mind goes on thinking, consuming precious energy. When you have learned to park your mind, a great deal of energy and vitality is saved, strengthening your immune system and vital organs, and lengthening your life, all from a book.
So, Dr. Jordan, I have the room title, Trump is a dumb R word, because we're trying to show that people project onto Trump and other people all the time their own R word status. And so it's like one of those things where it's just personal responsibility. And so if you are a Karen at the park and you take your dog off the leash, and then other Karens will say, yeah, it's not that black guy's fault. It's your dumb ass for taking your fucking dog off its leash. It's the same thing with projection. When you project onto Trump that he's a dumb R word, it's your projection, meaning that you let yourself off the leash, meaning you're not taking personal responsibility for what you got to do in your motherfucking life. Because Dr. Jordan here one time was like, I want that beach house. He told me that. He's like, I want that beach house. And I'm like, okay, well, everybody wants a lifestyle, but the way to get the lifestyle, you have to reverse engineer your success, and spending your emotional opportunity to project onto Trump, what it is that you don't have. But anyways, the point is
he could start a group, like he could start a Trump university, and then he could do it.
Well, what I'm trying to say is people that hate Trump.
A casino, or you could start,
casinos are always a good choice. Casinos are the biggest sucker. Casinos are so incredibly stupid, but people go in there and they really think they can win, and it's just amazing how much time. See, the thing about Clubhouse is it doesn't cost you anything here to play the casino, but if you go to the casino and you want to play there, it costs you money. This app is free, and thus why so many R words stick around, because it's free to be an R word here.
It's not free, no. It's
Danny, when was the last time you sat down for an hour or 30 minutes and read a book? Be honest. Tell us the truth.
I think this is projection.
Danny, I'm going to ask you one more time before I kick you to the goo. I'm going to be clear on my warning. Answer the question. When was the last time you sat down and read a book? Oh, she left. So all I'm trying to get at is if you read a book today, at any time today, you are in the top 1% of people. Because if you just open Dhammapada or Tao Te Ching or Marcus Aurelius.
Your Life is Your Message by Eknath Eswaran.
Any great master will do, but don't read the Jungle Book. Go a little further into the jungle and find a good book.
Here, look, listen to this. This is called Reading the Mystics. We are so immersed these days in what the mass media offer that it is helpful to give half an hour or so each day to reading a book. In fact, it says it is helpful to give half an hour or so each day to reading the scriptures and the writings of the great mystics of all religions, because their experiences and encouraging can give us the support and companionship we need to keep up our efforts to transform our lives. Just before bedtime, after evening meditation, is a particularly good time for spiritual reading because the thoughts you fall asleep in will be with you throughout the night. So in other words, he says, read a wisdom book from the ancient masters because they have good stuff to say. We have Jordan here. Is that you?
That's me. I wanted to say that my partner Linda has been reading me Lord of the Rings every night as we fall asleep, and I've been recovering from a disc injury, so I've been in a lot of pain. So just hearing Tolkien again, hearing the actual words, disambiguating them from what I remember from the movies, because I haven't read the books for a while, is just the writing and the illumination and the spiritual messages are, I would put it up there in that list of the books of masters and mages that we should read, or something that he captured that is just really humane and helpful to the spirit of the earth and people.
Dr. Jordan, do you have a a rope or a yoga strap, and do you lay down on your back and pull on your hamstring and take the deepest breath of the day every day?
I don't, although I do have a yoga strap. Should be delivered soon, and I mean I have other things that would work, and I am inundated by ads for something called the Castle Flex. That's double X, which costs about $250, and their whole advertising campaign is explaining why the yoga strap is so different that it costs $250. It's really fascinating. I'm almost tempted to get one eventually because they put so much effort into the marketing.
I mean, I have a yoga strap for $9.99 off of Amazon, and probably 3 times a day, I get down on my padded cushions. I have a big Japanese padded bed on my wooden floor, and I do hip rotations and then hamstring pulls, and I do deep breaths and fire breathing.
So I am stretching every day and have been, and I'm working with a very good book called Back Mechanic by a guy named Stuart McGill, as well as another book called Tell Me Where It Hurts, which is a brand new book about how pain is actually put together in the brain from biological, mental, emotional, and community environmental signals. But the truth is I have severe stenosis, and so there's a physical narrowing, and there isn't really anything that can be done about that on the pure physical level other than submitting to surgery, which I'm going to do everything in the world I can to avoid. So I think you're right that more stretching would be helpful, but I've been taking this really deep dive into pain and what it is and where it comes from. And when you stay up a few weeks in a row because you can't fall asleep because you're in too much pain, you really, you get to know what your own process really is around pain and what it's going to be like at the end of your life and such. And I'm fascinated by pain, fascinated by the fact that it hurts in my leg. My leg has nothing wrong with it. The problem is in my back. And yet the signals, the pain signals, the alarms that is telling me that there's a problem and that I should, my brain is trying to figure out what's going on. And it's telling me, don't use your leg because your back hurts. And it's just very interesting. And I'm up to like 9,000 or 10,000 steps a day. I'm back to the gym. So I'm out of survival mode and crisis mode. But I've never had an injury like this at 66. And there was no precipitating event. I didn't do something wrong or bad. There was no accident. I just think that I was doing too many back arches, honestly. I think it was a Schlimbesserung that I created the exact opposite of the result I was aiming for. But it's a very interesting level. And I will say also the stuff you guys were talking about, projection. I've been studying NVC, nonviolent communications, and with my men's group. And Marshall makes this point at one point, Rosenberg makes this point that your safety lies not in the way that other people react or respond to you, but in the way you respond and react to other people. And it's it sounds blasé when I say it now, but it's a really fundamental point for me because suddenly I'm working with, the wealthiest client I've ever worked with by far, and he's also one of the most difficult. And just not projecting on someone who has an obscene amount of wealth is a very fascinating, difficult thing to do in our society.
All right, I'm done.
Yeah, I've over the years I've been like chanting Dhammapada by Buddha, and and when I say chanting, I just mean like reading it out loud, and it puts you into like a very deep state of relaxation and hypnosis, and programs you with really intelligent divine prescription or perception or projection. Like it doesn't matter. Vibrations, yeah.
Well, good vibrations. I was harking to the Beach Boys.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's exactly. It is basically my point is program yourself with the Beach Boys, And I just think this app, and when you listen to highly dramatic, extremely polarized people, it's not healthy for your central nervous system. And I think that people that have pain, whether it's arthritis, shoulder pain, elbow pain, knee pain, ankle pain, migraine, it doesn't matter where the pain is. This app is like an inflammatory, experience. So
it can be inflammatory or it can be anti-inflammatory. If you're hanging out with people who you resonate well with and who there's a woman named Dr. Sharon who was trained by my partner Jim Fadiman, and sometimes on Saturday mornings, it's the closest anyone is to giving me real therapy, and I just co-regulate with her, and I resonate with her, and I calm down, and it's good for me. So I think it depends how you use it. You have to, like everything else, pay attention.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that to me the best experience is reading a book here, and I've been doing it for years. And it's challenging to do it because other people's emotional fluctuations and storytelling and opinions are so highly addictive to listen to. It's like bird watching, but it's people watching. And people watching, turns out, is a hell of a lot more addictive and interesting than bird watching. But I appreciate the people that like bird watching because I like bird watching too. But anyways, I'm just saying that the experience of reading a book out loud versus the experience of, say laying on your bed and reading it silently for an hour, it's just, they're like night and day. When you read it out loud and you chant it, it's like, you're listening to yourself doing it. So you're really doing brain programming, like at the neurological molecular level. And so,
absolutely.
Yeah.
That's why I'm so loving listening to, and Linda's gotten better and better at reading. I mean, she still can't read all the Elvish stuff, and there's some very hard things that he uses all sorts of words. Tolkien uses all sorts of words, especially about geography that most of us just don't know. But feeling that is, it really does make a difference. There are other books that people say, like Terence McKenna used to talk about how you can't really read Finnegan's Wake by yourself. You have to read it out loud as a group. I haven't done it, but I'm sure it's amazing.
Yeah, but I mean, as a critic, as an artist, the books you read or program yourself with, you have such limited opportunity costs. So trying to find out what the top 10 books are to program yourself with, it's important. And really any wisdom book will do it.
I think we could come up with a pretty good list between the two of us in real time. Although from what you just said, I do want to start with Programming and Metaprogramming the Human Biocomputer by John C. Lilly, just because of how you said what you said.
What's that other one? Who is that? Which one is that? There's one like called Reprogramming Your Mind by
Maxwell Maltz, maybe.
I can't remember the name of it, but anyways, it's just
we are oddly similar in the things we're interested in. So I know we've read a lot of the same things and seen a lot of the same things.
I'm just saying that books mixed with AI and the internet and social media, like that's the new that's the new way to like live your life, because the content that is coming out of platforms, it's so stupid that you have to essentially create a library at home and live off of that, because everything else is basically reverse engineered for capital, attention capital economy. And so I'm just saying that like we're now living with the greatest slave population the world has ever known because of the cell phone and all the platforms and all the junk and crap that comes out in the content. So I'm holding up a book, Ayn Rand's Virtue of Selfishness, and I haven't read anything that I necessarily disagree with yet, and I'm on page 50.
Well, she had a lot of followers. A lot of people liked her stuff. I mean, I liked reading Atlas Shrugged. I was with her.
See, I mean, the thing that scares me is because we live in such a debt-ridden society, and she claims that society has two functions, which is knowledge transfer or knowledge accumulation, and then trading. So we need the knowledge to create products and services to trade. That's the basis of the economy. And unfortunately, we have no one in society actually interested in knowledge or transferring it or accumulating it or processing it. And I'm talking about, stuff in these books. Everything that we're told by everyone in the media is like, it's all propaganda.
Well, like as an example, you may be aware that Brian Johnson, who goes by the name of Philosopher, BRY, recently live streamed himself taking a superhumanly large dose of DMT.
Mm-hmm.
And so the whole media spectacle and experience is about this guy taking this DMT. But it's not like he's not like a Huxley who, after he took mescaline, came back with the Doors of Perception and forever changed the minds of tens of millions of people. It's about the fact that he did this thing. And isn't that amazing? So, like, it's the same phenomena, but all of the levels of knowledge and wisdom are lost because he's not that good a communicator or that smart compared to the people we've been talking about. He's just a guy who made a few $100 million as a tech bro and decided to give himself the label philosopher. What the fuck does he know? So, I don't know.
Well, I guess my critique, because I do believe in like the binary and then the melting away of the binary at certain times. And so I'm trying to say that if all the time that people are putting into creating content here about Trump, if they were to simply use that time to create content using books, oh my God, their personal lives would be so much better. So, I think I try to mix and match and have variety to try to constantly stay entertained. But I would really encourage you to come on this app and read your book, whether it's the psychedelic one or a philosophy book, and just read it and let people experience the wisdom of you reading a book, and then create your enlightenment.com platform with Dr. Jordan, teaching the Tao Te Ching.
Interesting, we did read your Symphony of Selves, but I made it a group thing. I had one or two friends who were better readers than me, not many, but people took turns reading, and that both worked and didn't work because some people were great and other people couldn't really read. So I could see, I could just pick a time and go on and read for 15 minutes a day or something and just see how that felt. That's not a bad idea. Thank you.
But see, the cool thing is when some people can't read so good, well, even that is actually like an awareness experience. There's no good or bad, because the whole point is we're trying to get people to experience reading books again. And so there's no good or bad.
I'm sure the numbers on that are just as you've been putting them out, and it's gotten worse and worse and worse and worse. I mean, I'm still reading books, but that's part of my job. But I'm also taking in vast amounts of information from news sources, including AI, and we haven't talked much about that. But that's really tricky for me because there are some things that there's no question AI can, give me a 97% head start on and save me dozens of hours. But then I have to still make it mine somehow. And anything that AI writes the initial draft of doesn't ever really sound or feel like a human being wrote it. So there are some real trade-offs on that. But on the other hand, I don't want to become, I don't want
Dr.
to.
Jordan, have you heard of the app called Suno, the music creation?
Oh yeah, I've only played with it once for a little bit. It's fantastic. It's amazing.
John and I have both experimented on our own, and both of us have come up with some things that I think are pretty cool.
No, there's no question that I do have a Substack now, and each time I publish a new one, I think I have 19 out, but I'm about to serialize some new research that we've done on microdosing. But I start with a different diagram at the top that represents which one of the 9 major themes of the enlightened stack I'm talking about. And I was able to use Sigma AI to come up with sort of a diagram engine that let me change around whatever images I have and connect them, overlap them, and have them touch in a way that, like, with a regular, I don't have any graphic skills. It would have taken me forever. I'm just so happy that Sigma AI was able to work with me and do exactly what I want.
On your lips like something new. You pull that palette from your pocket. Right here, say I don't usually even talk it. But to make you want an option. You can be a option. You got me. Do it at the midnight move. Yeah, right here. On the screen inside my room. Click on his name. I'm tired of the same. Ready for changes. We're breaking the rules. You got me doing at the midnight moves. Rapping like I'm stuck on the truth. If this is the moment, I don't want love, blowing. Only these after midnight moves.
My reputation out there on the far-flung
Real talk, but the text is on my mind. Scroll line, chunk it over, it's your time. We laugh at the chaos in the mix. One vote for a city we can fix. You last message for the drama, so real.
Oh, Jordan, so I have these Bible flashcards. There was a church bookstore near my house, so I bought all these like Bible flashcards that they have. And in terms of like dialectic neurolinguistic programming and therapy, just reading these Bible flashcards, quietly out loud, it's just so enriching for the mind and therapeutic for the body that, a lot of atheists on this app. I just from a medical perspective, neurolinguistic dialectic programming and therapy, it really is real. It works, and you can do it in English. You can do it in Spanish. You can do it in any language. The brain, it unless it gets programming, it's a shame. Why do you think so many people live in darkness? It's because they've never done the programming. There's just a never-ending amount. But I'm telling you a quick shortcut, and I think this is why the Bible is so popular. It's really the Bible flashcards. It's that quick injection of a program into the mind, which can relieve a lot of anxiety and stress. And it basically puts you into a very deep, relaxed state of mind. I don't know what the name of the mind or the brain wave would be. We would just call it the Beach Boy vibration, But to me, the Bible flashcards are an incredible source of instantaneous delight and wisdom and joy, because it basically helps you reframe. I mean, just like a basic quote from Isaiah, like, I am with you, like that type of motivation, that type of empowerment, it's empowering.
I use music a lot in the same kind of way. Like my new favorite song this year, the Stevie Wonder song very high. We sang it together.
On the screen this time, click on his name, I'm tired of the same, ready for changes. We're breaking
music of Stevie Wonder and how learning his music and singing it in a group and singing it in service with other people is such a high level of music. But now, I'll just put it downstairs and listen to it on my big stereo. I come back to that same place of connection and because there's lots of tools that have that you could be using. It wouldn't take very much time a day to use them unless they're properly programmed to support breathwork, to stretching, probably reading. I like everything how I listen to music
Feel that stay
every day that would change your life, but most people aren't interested or don't have that kind of consistency or trust with them.
right here on the screen is summer.
Well, I've experimented a lot with books and experiencing the book. And the thing is, there's just not enough time to ever go through even the books that I've personally accumulated. So I feel like really this successful guy told me once, it's like, he's like, your pattern is really how your success will develop. And so, I mean, like you said, you know, if I just came to this app and read for 15 minutes a high value book, it would be so beneficial for me and for the people that hear it. So I would really encourage you to try to incorporate that into your schedule and create a house called Jordan Reads a Book, you know, and you would be amazed at how many people you program to regularly come to your room, because this app is a Pavlovian conditioning and suggestion app. And even the bell, when somebody comes in a room, even if you have the volume off on your phone, it still makes a bell. So this app uses Pavlovian conditioning and suggestion to enhance its stickiness. And I'm sure if you wanted to, you could just AI it and say, hey, how does social media incorporate products and framing, and what, you know, how do they actually create stickiness in the same way that a slot machine is able to draw the attention, keep the attention, manipulate the dopamine, and then eventually, you know, pull the trigger and take that person's money. So it's all programming. And, you know, I just think a lot of people on here who maybe they're very smart and they say they've published all these white papers, but they're here talking endlessly, kind of shows me that their product or their creation is really not a creation at all. It's just like a publishing business that they're in, and they don't know that they're just in the publishing business. Maybe they think there will be commercial application because they can patent or something, but to me, the internet publishing business is the real new economy, and it's one step above the insurance business or the paper business. You know, there is no inventory to Candace Owens that she has to worry about. She is infinite inventory. And every time she creates a video about Erica Kirk, she can make another $150,000 on Google YouTube because Pfizer and J&J and Ford, you know, put ads on her YouTube channel. So I'm just saying that you have enlightenment.com, which is basically entertainment.com. And the Gaia Network and all these platforms that put out this fake bullshit spirituality content, which is basically hypnotizing people into thinking that they're Anunnakis and ancient Atlanteans. It's really bad philosophy because it's not good social psychology. It's not personal development. And, you know, I'm not a Freemason, but I can understand that over there at the Freemason building or over there at the Catholic Church or over there at the synagogue, ultimately, it's about personal development and reading the books to basically cultivate yourself and make yourself an intelligent and effective communicator. So this app is like Toastmasters, and but there are some highly dramatic people on here who can trick you into thinking that, you know, maybe the world is collapsing or America is collapsing, or, you know, there's so much content and so many wars and topics and political conversations. You know, basically, I've come to the conclusion that every single topic is political, even concrete, you know, and my friend here knows who Concrete is here on this app. But even the actual physical concrete is political, because in my backyard, if I want to change my lawn into a concrete slab, there's actual politics involved in terraforming the land that I own into concrete. So I'm just saying that everyone should accept the fact that every topic is political, and it's not necessarily racism. It's actually just political. So those are my thoughts.
Oh, well, you're really making the underlying claim that every interaction between human beings is an economic one of some kind or another. And as soon as economics are involved, then politics is involved. It's about the distribution of resources. So, I guess the question is whether or not we can have exchanges that are not economic, that are not one person trying to extract something from another, and that would involve a different base level of economics that isn't rooted in the scarcity the inverted scarcity that capitalism is rooted in, and somehow, creating more for everybody in some kind of synergistic uplifting. But pretty much we never do that. Language, I talked about NBC, Marshall Rosenberg, and Nonviolent Communications. When you start listening to him and reading the stuff, he's not a great communicator, but eventually the picture comes together about how we have all been taught to learn to use language to hurt other people and take them down. And